Good evening. This is CTV News for Monday, June 29th. I'm Denise Douglas.
And I'm Byron Scott. Thank you for joining us tonight. While the trial gets underway for a man accused of murdering his uncle so that he wouldn't testify against him, Patricia Vallone is at the Prince George's Courthouse with that story.
Now, the state says while in prison, Brian Mayhew ordered the death of his uncle, Nico Mayhew, to avoid facing prosecution for 2 murders. His uncle was considered a main witness in the trial when he was fatally shot. At the time, Nico Mayhew was carrying his toddler son, who was also shot but has since recovered. Brian Mayhew and the accused hitmen Stanley Winston and Anthony Cannon are co-defendants in the trial. All 3 face first-degree murder and related charges. Now, opening arguments were expected to begin today, but instead the jury was dismissed early, and the day was spent considering motions on whether or not certain cell phone calls could be entered into evidence. Meantime, security is extra tight at this trial. At least a dozen deputies were on hand. Cell phones were not permitted in the courtroom, and spectators such as myself had to pass through 2 separate metal detectors. Now, there's no word yet on whether this court case will continue tomorrow or at a later date. From Upper Marlboro, I'm Patricia Vallone, CTV News.
Despite his uncle's death, the state was still able to prosecute Brian Mayhew for the 2011 murders of Anthony McElvin and Sean Ellis. He was convicted in February and sentenced to the following month to life plus 20 years.
Well, Byron, it's moving forward, but the big question now is about funding. After much debate, Governor Larry Hogan approved the construction of the Purple Line in Prince George's and Montgomery counties late last week. However, he says the counties will have to increase the amount they will have to pay for this project. They have agreed to spend more than $300 million on the light rail line. Both counties, though, are already dealing with tight budgets. So we asked Montgomery County Council President George Leventhal where the additional money will come from today during this week's news conference that he normally holds.
It's not possible today to tell you where the money would come from without knowing precisely how much money we're talking about. And so what the county executive has said, and I agree with him, is that we're delighted that the governor made the decision to proceed with the project. We want the project to proceed, and as soon as the state lays out in full detail what it's proposing, then we can figure out how much we're being asked to pay and how we'll pay for it.
I'll also commented on Montgomery County sick leave bill approved by the council late last week. It requires employers to pay workers who take time off because of an illness.
My colleagues offered amendments. We thoughtfully deliberated. We accepted a few. We didn't accept others, but then the sponsors of those amendments went ahead and voted for the bill on final passage, which I think is a mark of mature deliberation, that council members were able to make their points and have a thorough debate and then recognize, even though some of the amendments didn't pass, that the greater good was achieved by voting for the bill.
The sick leave bill goes into effect October 2016, which gives employers more than a year to comply with it.
And several new state laws approved in the last legislative session go into effect on July 1st. These include a $5,000 increase to Maryland's exemption on military retirement pensions for people over 65. Law enforcement agencies will also now be required to provide the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention with information on officer-involved deaths. A new measure banning companies from targeting ads to kids using in K-12 student data will be enacted. Also going into effect, a law declaring that not local government, but only the state can take action, restricting or regulating the testing or operation of drones in Maryland.
Also, beginning July 1st, Maryland's minimum wage will go up 25 cents. The state's minimum wage will increase gradually to $10.10 by 2018 due to the Maryland Minimum Wage Act of 2014. Thanks to the new law, workers will now be paid at least $8.25. When the wage went up back in January, Maryland's Working Families Organization believes that it created $84 million in increased wages throughout the state. Marylanders will see the complete wage increase by July 2018. Well, it sounds big, but it still falls short of what is fully needed to fund Prince George's County's education plan. The school board approved a $1.8 billion budget for fiscal year 2016. That's a 2.5% increase over last year. However, another $96 million is needed in order that the county can reach its goals set by 2020. To try and bridge the shortfall, board president or board chair Segun Eubanks says that the county must pursue grants, build community partnerships, and look for other resources. The district plans to adjust its strategies and timelines to minimize the impact that funding gap could have on student education. You are watching CTV News, and I'm Denise Douglas.
And I'm Byron Scott.